Good evening. There is a very specific, undeniable look to a White House that is completely cracking under pressure. It does not usually happen all at once. It happens in pieces. It happens when the official talking points stop matching the basic, observable reality of everyday life. It happens when cabinet secretaries start contradicting each other on live television. And it happens when a president facing a massive, cascading crisis of his own making completely retreats from reality and starts focusing on trivial, bizarre distractions. Tonight, we are exactly 19 days into the administration's unprovoked war in Iran, and the facade of control is entirely gone. Let us start with the single most glaring piece of evidence that this administration is in full-blown panic mode. It has to do with oil. Right now, the price of a barrel of crude oil is hovering around $120. That is a massive economy-crushing number. The administration knows that if gas prices hit record highs, their political survival is essentially over. So what is their strategy to fix the global oil market that they themselves broke by starting a war in the Middle East? They have decided to reward the enemy. The United States Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, went on the record and admitted something so completely backwards, so entirely counterproductive, that you have to pause to make sure you heard it correctly. Bessent admitted that the administration quietly implemented a break-the-glass emergency plan. First, they completely removed sanctions on Russian oil. They just let Vladimir Putin sell 130 million barrels on the open water. And now the Treasury Secretary says the United States is going to remove sanctions on Iranian oil. Yes, Iranian oil. The administration is currently dropping bombs on Iran. They are engaged in a shooting war with the Iranian military. American service members are in harm's way. But simultaneously, the White House is allowing the Iranian regime to freely sell 140 million barrels of oil on the global market to places like China. The Treasury Secretary tried to spin this. He claimed that the U.S. is somehow using Iranian barrels against the Iranians to keep the price down temporarily. But let us translate what that actually means. The United States government is allowing the nation it is currently fighting a war against to generate massive, unfettered oil profits, strictly because the White House is terrified of American voters seeing high prices at the gas pump. They are literally funding the enemy's war effort to save themselves from bad headlines. And the Iranians know exactly how desperate Washington is. They are not just surviving this conflict. They are openly mocking the United States. We now have confirmation that Iran has essentially set up a private toll booth in the Strait of Hormuz. This is the most critical maritime choke point on the planet. Iran is now selectively allowing specific commercial vessels to pass safely through their territorial waters. But it comes with a price. According to maritime intelligence from Lloyd's List, at least one tanker just paid a reported $2 million directly to Iran for safe transit. So the country we are at war with has taken total control of the Strait of Hormuz. They are collecting multi-million-dollar tolls from passing ships like a mafia protection racket, and the United States government is simultaneously lifting sanctions on their oil exports. Does this look like a strategy that is winning? And the financial bleeding is not just happening overseas. It is happening right here directly to the American taxpayer. This morning, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, stepped up to a podium to ask Congress for an emergency defense supplemental. How much? $200 billion. $200 billion. They need it immediately because the military is rapidly burning through munitions, missiles, and equipment in a war that has only been going on for 19 days. Hegseth stood there and said, quote, "It takes money to kill bad guys." He said the military needs to be properly funded to refill its ammunition stockpiles and then go above and beyond that. Let us put that number into perspective. For years, politicians in Washington have told the American public that investing $30 billion to lower healthcare premiums for 20 million citizens was simply too expensive. They said we couldn't afford it. They said it would bankrupt the country. But today, the administration is demanding $200 billion to replenish bombs for a war of choice, and they want it with no questions asked. This comes at the exact moment the United States national debt just crossed $39 trillion. Back in October, it was $37 trillion. The administration is currently adding roughly $1 trillion to the national debt every 2 months. But when the Pentagon asks for a $200 billion blank check, the money printer just fires right up. And what exactly is that $200 billion buying us? It is buying us the systematic destruction of the global supply chain. Yesterday, the United States and Israel launched airstrikes against the South Pars energy facility in Iran. Immediately, Donald Trump's administration tried to distance itself from the strike, claiming it was entirely an Israeli operation and that Washington had nothing to do with it, which is a completely absurd claim given the level of military integration right now. But Iran did not care whose name was on the bomb. They retaliated immediately. Iran fired a barrage of missiles directly at the Ras Laffan industrial city in northern Qatar. Qatar is a massive American ally, and Ras Laffan is the beating heart of the global liquefied natural gas industry. According to the CEO of Qatar Energy, the Iranian strike severely damaged facilities that produce 17% of Qatar's entire LNG export capacity. Let me be very clear about what that means for the world. In the span of 24 hours, the tit-for-tat retaliation just wiped out 3 to 5% of the entire global supply of liquefied natural gas. The Qatari government says it is going to take 2 to 3 full years to completely repair the damage. The ripple effects of this are starting right now. Airlines have just been officially warned to expect massive flight cancellations and severe jet fuel rationing starting next month. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the destruction of regional refineries means long-haul flights simply cannot secure the fuel they need to make return journeys. And it goes far beyond airplanes. We talk constantly about oil and gas, but the Middle East is also the central hub for global fertilizer production. It is a massive producer of helium. These are the completely invisible, unsexy supply chains that keep the modern world functioning. They keep food growing, they keep medical equipment running, and they are currently being blown to pieces. So with the global energy market fracturing, the national debt exploding, the military begging for $200 billion, and American allies taking direct missile fire, what is the commander-in-chief focused on? What is the President of the United States doing to manage this historical crisis? This morning, Donald Trump logged onto social media and posted an update. He did not post about the troops. He did not post about the economy. He posted about a pair of rare gold-colored Trump sneakers being listed for $180,000 at a sneaker con event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I want you to really think about the profound psychological disconnect required to post that message today. Imagine the sheer absurdity. For years, the president and his family, specifically his son-in-law Jared Kushner, have built a massive financial architecture in the Middle East. They have taken billions of dollars from Saudi sovereign wealth funds. They have partnered with real estate developers in Dubai and Oman. The regional monarchies poured money into Trump-branded properties and private equity firms, largely under the unspoken assumption that they were buying American stability and protection. And now the entire region is on fire. Missiles are raining down on energy facilities in Riyadh. Refineries in Qatar are burning. The airspace is practically closed. No international investor is flying into Doha, or Abu Dhabi, or Dubai to do business right now. In the financial world, lawyers are currently scrambling to invoke force majeure clauses. Those are the contract clauses that allow you to legally walk away from massive financial commitments because an unforeseeable disaster, like a regional war, has made doing business impossible. The massive pipeline of Middle Eastern money flowing into American tech startups and private equity is drying up overnight. The investors who paid the administration for stability just bought themselves a war zone. And while the financial empire of the Middle East crumbles, the president is proudly posting about someone trying to sell his branded sneakers in Saudi Arabia. But he didn't stop there. A few hours later, the president made another post. Was it about the negotiations? No. He posted a picture of California windmills. He shared a message from an ally complaining about driving from Los Angeles to Palm Springs and seeing junk windmills that suck the taxpayers dry and act as bird killers. The Middle East is descending into a terrifying series of retaliatory strikes on the world's most vital energy infrastructure. Gas prices are crippling American families, and the president is complaining about windmills in the California desert. It is the behavior of a man who has completely retreated from the reality of his own job. And because the president has checked out, his administration is forced to step up and defend the indefensible. This brings us back to the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. During his press conference today, Hegseth decided that the real problem with this war is not the closed shipping lanes or the destroyed refineries or the massive cost. According to the Pentagon, the real problem is the media, and the real problem is our allies. Hegseth stood at the podium and said, quote, The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump: thank you. He then looked directly into the camera and delivered a prepared monologue designed entirely to gaslight the American public. He said he was speaking directly to the God-fearing American patriots, bypassing the filters of the press. He claimed that the media is infected with Trump derangement syndrome because reporters are pointing out that 19 days into a massive conflict, the administration has no exit strategy. He claimed the press is trying to convince the public that we are spinning into an endless abyss or a forever war. He said, "Nothing could be further from the truth." But the facts on the ground directly contradict the Secretary of Defense. The administration has repeatedly claimed that they have entirely decimated Iran's military capabilities. They claimed Iran had no ballistic missiles left. But today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Keane, had to publicly admit the truth. When asked why Iran is still successfully launching massive drone and missile strikes against Arab neighbors, General Keane admitted that the Iranian military still retains significant medium and short-range ballistic missile capabilities. He admitted that the military is still hunting them. You cannot claim total victory while your own generals are admitting the enemy's missile silos are still active. The footage of refineries burning in Qatar is not artificial intelligence. It is real fire, and the violence is expanding. While the administration attacks the press verbally from podiums in Washington, American allies are attacking the press with actual weapons. Today in southern Lebanon, an Israeli military strike directly targeted a British journalist named Steve Sweeney. Sweeney and his camera crew had been actively reporting on the systematic targeting of journalists in the region. The strike hit their position. Thankfully, they survived, though they sustained injuries. It is a stark, horrifying contrast. In the Middle East, reporters are taking shrapnel to document the truth of this expanding war. In Washington, the Secretary of Defense is whining that the press won't simply say thank you to the president. The administration's messaging is collapsing across the board. In the House of Representatives today, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, faced a brutal line of questioning from Democratic Congressman Jimmy Gomez. Gomez simply asked Director Gabbard to clarify her own past statements. He noted that last year, under oath, Gabbard testified that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. Gomez asked a very direct, simple question. Do you stand by that statement? Yes or no? Gabbard immediately began dodging. She claimed context matters. She tried to reclaim her time. She refused to give a straight yes or no answer. When Congressman Gomez pointed out that the president had previously called her past testimony wrong and asked if she was lying then or lying now, Gabbard completely retreated. She simply repeated a robotic talking point. I stand by the intelligence community's complete assessment. It is the sound of an administration that has absolutely no idea how to align its past promises with its current actions. And finally, if you are an American citizen struggling to pay for gas, struggling to afford groceries, and watching $200 billion get funneled to defense contractors, the administration's vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, has a message for you. His message is, stop complaining because Europe has it worse. Vance was asked about the crippling economic impact of this war. His response was to pivot immediately to attacking green energy. He claimed that allies all over the world are suffering far more than Americans are because they invested in green energy scams. He said that while Americans need to focus on gas prices, the reality is that people overseas are feeling the pain far worse. That is the official comfort coming from the White House. You may be hurting, your cost of living may be skyrocketing, the national debt may be approaching $40 trillion, but you should be grateful because someone in Germany is paying more for heating oil. It is a staggering level of arrogance. When you connect all these dots, the picture is perfectly clear. You have an administration actively lifting sanctions on the country it is currently bombing. You have an adversary setting up toll booths in international waters. You have a military begging for a $200 billion bailout. You have the global supply chain for fuel and food actively fracturing. And sitting at the center of it all is a president ignoring the chaos, trying to sell sneakers, and complaining about the view from a highway in California. This is not what a strategy looks like. This is what a collapse looks like. Watch what they do, not what they say.